bit about your business, high level, before we go into a lot of detail for our viewers today.
It's a brand, it's a renovation business, very traditional sort of a business.
Why this business?
Time the guy showed us an opportunity, he was like, this is one business, we can probably start easily with lesser capital and all of that.
So what you're saying is that you're clear differentiator to other competitors.
Because I can think from their perspective as well.
Hey, good, great. I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is 𝐬𝐤𝐤𝐿, and I'm your host for today's session. We have a very special guest with us today, and I'll allow him to introduce himself.
Hi guys, this is 𝐸𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐿 from Houses to Homes. I'm here to discuss A to Z about renovations with my friend Sanit here.
It's great to have you here. I want to get to know a bit about you and a bit about your business, high level, before we go into a lot of detail for our viewers today.
Let me start right from the beginning. So it's a brand, it's a business, it's a renovation business, very traditional sort of a business. We got into it by luck. When I say we, I have a friend come partner in it, and his name is Hassan. And we had a very humble beginning. We used to do minor maintenance projects, renovation projects, doing up purification of a bathroom or a kitchen for someone. But in the past 5 years, we've grown into this turnkey renovation solution company. The brand name is obviously Houses to Homes. We specialize in residential renovations, primarily villa communities of Dubai. Mostly this Emirates living communities like Springs, Meadows, Jumeirah Park, Lakes, Jumeirah Golf Estates, the Dubai Hills, Arabian Ranches. We've been lately, I'm very proud to accept the fact that we've been leading the market in Arabian Ranches especially. So yeah, now basically we offer turnkey solutions to all our respective clients, be it an end user, be it an investor, anybody and everybody.
That sounds amazing. But I wanted to know a bit about what got you into this business from the very beginning. Why this business and not any other?
To me, the story is very funny. I don't know if it's funny to everyone, but me and my partner now, we both used to be real estate agents. And we had a third friend, colleague in the company who was actually a civil engineer. And he had a lot of experience in construction industry in Dubai, in UAE. He was coming into the job of real estate agent from a construction background. And that the time was such, it was just before COVID, that the market was almost stagnant. Maybe we were not as good as agents as well. We were not doing a lot of deals and all. So we were not basically enjoying the job itself. And that was the time the guy showed us an opportunity. He was like, this is one business, we can probably start easily with lesser capital and all of that. And then he tried to have a lot of connections who could give us projects, potential maintenance projects. Because he was mostly focused on the maintenance part, like building maintenances, villa maintenances and all of that. And obviously, who doesn't have that kick to start their own business, right? So that is where we took the chance. We got into this business. That time it was a different brand, different genre. We were more focused on the maintenance part. But then we started learning about the market. Both me and my partner are of different backgrounds. My partner is of international business. I come from an economics background, started economics. Nothing to do with interior design, decor, construction, fit out, anything. But then we've learned on the go, and I like to believe it is a better way of learning rather than studying in school or college or uni. We've learned it on the go. We've learned it from the labor, from clients, from authorities. By literally screwing up projects, we learned it. So we learned it the hard way. And then eventually, we 3 years, if I'm not wrong, 3 years, 4 years back, we started this particular brand called Houses to Homes. And that is where we started our journey in residential fit out and renovations.
Before we dwell into COVID and how it helped you find an opportunity in the market, for our viewers, we wanted to understand a bit about the end-to-end process flow, what your company does.
The COVID answer I have to give you right now only because it's a very brief answer. COVID as such, in my belief, didn't have a very big implication on the fit-out industry. In terms of the day-to-day processes like the factories and the vendors and supplier chains were affected for sure. But in general, the renovation industry is more impacted by the growth of the real estate industry. So that is one way you can say COVID has helped us because COVID did give a kick to the real estate industry. And obviously real estate industry is directly proportional to the renovation industry. The more communities getting launched, there's more scope for beautification of the houses in terms of the new communities. And then obviously the nicer communities or better locations are getting cold. That is where companies like us come into the picture, where you need the renovation industries, where the design has been is now updated, or the quality of the materials has worn down and then you need to replace it with new stuff. So that ways, yes, it's given a kick to the renovation market or the industry. About the renovation process.
Just on this point. So yes, please. Is it safe to say that during COVID, landlords were looking for a opportunity to gain a bit more ROI on their investment without the market interpreting it? So meaning that they would focus more on renovation, increasing their value of their asset by means. And this such issues that you found on your own.
Not specific to our brand, because we are focused on a different, I would say, tangent of renovation. Because when a landlord is renovating their apartment or doing up their apartment just for better rentals, they do not think turnkey, or they do not go to those lengths in depth or in that much depth for the renovation. Like for example, if I have an apartment and I just want another 10K additional on the rent or a 20K surplus on the rent, I might just do some kind of superficial work, like maybe do some wrapping of the cabinets, make them look a different color, do a repaint on the house, add some kind of designer lights, maybe replace it with like the makeshift solution of parquet flooring, and that's it. I then just go to agents, say my house is upgraded, get more rent for me. We're
Heard the story before for many people.
yeah,
Absolutely right.
to be honest with you, that's how it works as well. But we're not focused on those kind of projects. We do not, nothing against that, but we've not had a lot of experience in working with those kind of investors per se. But yes, that is one part of operation. What we focus on is actually creating more value by even going to the lens of space planning, changing the internal layouts. Because when we talk about renovation and fit out, you primarily cannot change the structure of the house, because the rules and regulations handfully in Dubai are such that safety comes first, and they have designated companies for different works. And when I talk about fit out and renovation, the contracting part of the business is totally different. So if you're talking changes to the structure, that becomes the business of contracting company as completely a different ball game. That can be clubbed with renovation on a bigger scale projects, on projects you may have heard of in communities like Palm Jumeirah, Emirates, of bigger mansions and all. Those are the kind of projects where people try and focus on even structural changes, add a bit of first floor, add more space and all of that. Minor extensions, minor structural playing around with the layout, we do in smaller communities as well. So we do more of in-depth renovations, turnkey renovations, within adding value to the property, not just to the lens of getting more rental ROI, but if we talk about investors, we work with investors who, let's say, flip it or like sell it for more, create more value. And even if we talk about renting those properties out, the ones that we are doing, the kind of renovations we are doing, that's not just another 10 or 20K board. Like I've seen, for example, a short example for community like Springs, I've seen a villa, let's say a 3-bed villa renting out for 180,000 dirhams. And if it's turnkey upgraded, the kind of upgradation I'm talking about, might rent out for 250K. That is 70,000 dirhams difference.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm talking of renovation to those nets.
Understood.
And if in continuation I'm able to answer your renovation process kind of fun, the process basically explanation, pretty basic, straightforward is the first is the thought of doing renovation, obviously. And then once it's there and person decides to renovate the house, yes, the purpose matters a lot. If let's say you have a house today, why do you want to do it? Are you wanting to just renovate it for your own better living? You will continue living there. Just want, let's say you've had a child or the family is growing, did you call your parents in your house or something like that? So you want more space, upgrade the interior of the house, bring it up to the modern specs and all of that could be a reason you become an end user. And then you look at renovation, VS companies and designers look at the renovation from a different angle. And if tomorrow you tell me I have a house, I just want to upgrade it and sell it for a profit or make a better ROI, that then you start following the generic norms, the generic trends, what is working in the market, what is the wider customer base liking in terms of upgradation, what colors are going around. Because then if it's for you, you might end up liking a blue kitchen. But if it's safe to say, I would say 90% of the people want a blue kitchen. Nothing against people who like it, but majority audience, yeah? Because if you don't sell it for a profit, you have to cater to a wider audience.
Yeah.
So I just included the type of people. Why? Because that helps you explain from where you start on renovation, like what kind of ideology you have when you're starting on the renovation process. And then it's basic, straightforward steps. You talk about design, you call a designer. That's the first and foremost a person who's planning to renovation on their property should do.
So if I take just a few steps back, we're talking about, let's say I'm a homeowner and I would like to increase the value of my asset or my investment in a way where it could be me selling it for profit or me to experience a better living from my own experience. And I would go to you and say, I would like something that really changes the scope of my house or my home without going through minor renovations. So I want to touch upon about this point.
First of all, thank you so much for asking this, because this is very important for people in Dubai to understand, for homeowners in Dubai, house property owners in Dubai to understand this question. But again, a disclaimer, this is my 2 cents on it. Maybe someone would feel differently about it, but I, being in the business, have thought hundreds of times from the client's perspective as well. And this is very important to understand in regards to the process of renovation as well, because a lot of time what people do, majority of the people would just take away contact a fit out company like mine. Now we do provide design services in-house as well, but initially we used to work with external designers. We still do, because a lot of times people come to us and say, we already have a designer. We thank them for it. As long as you have a designer, no matter it's from me or your own friend or whoever's referral or whatever, but I would say a designer has to come into the picture beforehand. Why? It's again very important to understand. Today I come to you and you call me for renovation scope. You're very much capable enough to explain me what you want. I am very much capable enough to understand what you want. But this renovation concept is such, because for you cost is a big factor, right? You will expect everything from me. What clients or what homeowners need to understand is giving estimates, giving costs is not as easy as it sounds, even for someone who's been in the industry for 20 years, 30 years, whatever. And why is that? Because each and every project is different. Each and every material spec is different. Each and every design is different, right? And when I say design is different, that is what explains why a designer has to come into the picture first, or the talking or the discussion about design has to come into the picture first. Because once your designs are there, your drawings are there, your layouts are planned, makes all our fit out companies, contractors' lives much easier, and eventually makes your life easier as well in terms of coming to a quote, coming to a BOQ. By BOQ, I mean book of quantities in reference to a scope of work.
It's kind of getting a designer early on to create that North Star for everyone to work. So it's not like a blind project where it was essentially, you got said, something that customers don't like.
Exactly. I like to add something here. Nothing against the client, like don't take me wrong, but this I've experienced myself. If I'm homeowner, I would think I want this. I want this to look like this to look like that. But it's not always eventually we end up at that. But I won't know until a designer or a company has actually showed me, let's say, the drawings for it or a 3D for it. Maybe because in my mind, I'm, again, back to the point, I think I like a blue kitchen, but if I see the renders for it, I would realize how sad it looks, right? So that's the point where, and then eventually I change it. But changing the color maybe won't change the cost a lot, but might end up causing changes in your materials or the layout, and that starts affecting your cost. Timelines as well, 100% on timelines. For a certain kind of a scope, I'll give you a timeline of 2 months. You change the scope, the timeline changes, and people need to understand this. Sometimes they understand the fact timeline would change, but they think, it's a minor change, cost doesn't change. But you have to understand from the perspective of the companies as well. We do a certain kind of costing, right? And we do, on the basis of that, we give you estimates.
In reality, there's this thing around it.
Is this thing like, I'm not trying to brag, but people have actually told me that this is a very good thing, that whenever I've told this to a client in an initial meeting, whenever I've gone and visited a property or a project with us, done a site visit with a prospective client, there's this thing I tell that every time, no matter how close the client is to me, how could a referral he's come from. This could answer your point on the costing. I'm guessing you would have asked me about the costing in the further questions as well, is that whenever you do a visit, it's an instinct. All of us as a human, the first question we ask them after explaining our scope is, how much do you think it will cost? It's a very easy question to ask, very legitimate question to ask, because as a client or as the person who's actually going to pay for it, needs to know how much I'm going to pay for it. My answer to all those questions is very simple. I do not like giving excuses. Yeah. It's basically, it sometimes harms my business as well, because people believe that you're coming, you have the experience, you're running a business, you should know how much it's going to cost, right? I know how much it's going to cost, but I don't want to put me and the person in the situation in a I would say in a quarrel later on. Why? Because today I give you an estimate of a 500,000, for example, for a 3-bed villa in Springs. I'll give you a 500,000 estimate. Maybe your budget was 300,000, and maybe your project was possible to do within the 300,000 budget. What happens? You'll kick me out of your contention. You'll be like, what a guy, I don't want to work with him at all. For me, I'll lose out on the project. Yeah, maybe even if it was possible for me to do it in 300,000. Flip side, what if I tell you 300,000 and actually the project is going to be 500,000? In the initial meeting, I impress you, you're like, this is my guy. He's good, he's knowledgeable, he has all the know-hows, and he's doing it in my budget. But then later on, when the actual project starts, I start giving you variations because I can't go into a loss. Correct. Right? And when I start giving variations, it brings a difference between us. We start fighting, we start arguing, and then eventually affects the project itself and our relation in the future as well.
I think this is a major issue in the region. I mean, you have a lot of contractors that will give you an estimate very on, potentially try to undercut with third-party suppliers. They will potentially make a margin out of it. And what you're talking about is clear transparency from day one. You know, with the customer, no estimate, understanding the true requirements, providing them the options, and then coming down to the cost factor.
See, I'll tell you some of this vacation. You got absolutely right, but at the same time, I want to say that it sounds very idealistic also. We have to face the ground here. What I just said is very idealistic. Would be very good for us contractors. Eventually would be good for the clients as well, but it's hard to make them understand. Because I can think from their perspective as well, right? If they have a certain budget, no one would like to tell you, but tomorrow you go to buy a property, even if you're going to buy a 3 million property, you tell the agent like, I have a budget of 2.5. I have a budget of 2. That's a negotiation tactic. I understand, right? But the other day, a couple of days back, I did a visit for a new project. I said this to that man, so I'm just reminded of it. I would like to say it, is what a client should do first base is judge the person as much as he can, build a trust, finalize on a person. Trust me, if you finalize on a good, loyal contractor, he'll do whatever you're asking for. If you keep things transparent with him from day one, that see, for example, Gurkirat, I have this scope of work to be sorted out, and I have this budget. And if the guy you've trusted him, then he'll be good enough to tell you in your face that, see, this much is possible, this much is not possible. And that gives you guys a good head start to take your process forward. Right? That can take the designer as well. If your designer is that, you build that trust of the designer will give you the same picture. Nothing against the designers, but designers like to make everything look fancy, right? Because making the design, I would not say their job is easy, but putting it on a 3D is easier than actually executing it.
Yeah.
And in terms of cost, in terms of materials and all that, right? So ideally, once you finalize on whoever is designing it, whoever is actually, let's say, executing the project, the contractor, the fit-out company, finalize on a company first. You'll be able to do it. Trust me, you'll be able to do it. Don't think that this company is super hi-fi, they'll be out of my budget or whatever. Just build the trust with the guy. If you've done that, then they can sit with you, transparently, honestly share our budget with them.
So what you're saying,
I've done actually projects where actually I've been able to convince of this ideology with the clients. They've actually given me their budget, and then we've re-engineered the code for them. And I personally told them, okay, if this is your budget, my 2 cents, my suggestion on your design, pick this up. Don't do this. And there they go back to the designer, or we do a common discussion, and then how important that thing is. So something is not as important, eliminate. Or maybe try work on your budget. Maybe there's a flexibility of 50, 60K. Yeah, those are the better ways of working it out, because the more you clarify all this in the beginning, it'll help you in the future. You don't want these issues going on in the middle of the project when your house is it out.
Great. So what you're saying is that your clear differentiator to other competitors is your approach is a bit more hands-on. It's a bit more transparent. It's a bit more consultation orientated rather than commercially driven. To provide that finished product once and for all as a version 1 without any iterations, without any additional expense.
See, how much sort of cliche it sounds, but what I like to believe is that in the initial stage, if I make the client believe that I'm thinking from his perspective, my life during that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 month long project will be very easy, and eventually his life will be easier as well. See, you have to understand the industry you're in, that renovation, construction, you can never put a set timeline on. There's a lot of human factor, the labor is involved. There's a lot of things, the lot of factors which are out of anybody's control are involved. Right? So there is a high chance that in projects there's usually delays of a few days, few weeks. If it's few months, then obviously your contractor has gone wrong somewhere. But few days here and there is, I mean, very realistic. Yeah, I might make people think that, and why am I talking bad about myself by talking about delays? But it's the reality of this business. But if you set the tone right from the start, and the client knows that you do whatever you're doing is for in his favor, those few delays, those few things here and there, the actual handover stage of the project, they're never gonna harm your relationship with him.
It's not like a sales relationship. More so. Should not be on like. So see, I come from real estate industry, right? Yeah.
So I have that sales background. I know how sales work, and I know what is good sales and what is just the sake of it.
Yeah.
Right. And I even our industry does has
Swipe up these days, so I guess
still, because anybody and everybody is selling today in Dubai, especially where real estate goes. So that is where people are missing out on learning on the actual sales part of it, right? That, see, life is all about selling. Even a computer science engineer sitting on his 9 to 5 job is selling something, selling his skills. So it's all about making connections about offers and all that. Our business is such. Today, I do one project. There's a 90% chance that I lose maybe 5 projects because of that, which will include the referrals that particular client could have given me in the future, which will include the walk-in clients that could have come into my project during that course of the project in that particular community. That client might end up getting so angry at me that he might go out on social media or Google and put a bad review. This business runs on good connections and referrals, right? So that is, in a way, if you think, I'm being selfish when I'm making a relationship with the client. Because I'm trying to set my tone right just so that client is happy with me and he doesn't cause harm to my business in the future. So I'm being selfish by being good with the client, right? Again, I think we've gone a lot of haywire. I'll quickly, briefly just explain a few words, the process of renovation. So design, then you involve a fit-out person. You create a BOQ and scope of work. Again, very important, no matter how big or small the scope of work is, make a scope. A lot of clients, a lot of contractors are keeping things verbal. This thing, it'll be done. This, it'll be done. Paid, done. Flowing, done. I'll do it. Write it on a Word file, put prices, contract, that, finish. There has to be a proper X-ray. There has to be quantities mentioned. The BOQs are very important. Very, very important to, again, save you from misery, you as in the client and the contractor as well. Save everybody from the head. Initial BOQs and specific quotes are important. Once this all is sorted, client has given you the nod, all good to go, then comes in the approval processes. Again, if I go into the detail, it will take us an hour to explain the approval processes. But what we have to understand is,
we would love to know a bit about the approval.
I'll give you the important brief, which gives a basic, important understanding to whoever maybe might be planning to do renovation or has done renovation and could relate. Maybe can tell through the medium of this that if I've said something wrong or if I've missed out on something. But my understanding on the approval process is that no matter wherever you're doing a project in Dubai, there's only 2 kinds of approvals, more or less, in the interior fit-out industry and specific to residential. I'm not going into the commercial part or warehouses at commercial because they involve a lot of different kind of approvals. Even I have no knowledge of. So I won't like to comment on that. But I would like to comment on what I've done and I do regularly on day-to-day basis is, again, primarily relating to the residential communities. I would also include in some apartment buildings, like you talk about downtown where the master developers, we work with like 𝐬𝐸, Nakheel, Dubai Cocktease, Mirage, the Mag, these kind of properties, developers we work with, be it their apartment communities or villa communities. Again, more or less, primarily we work with villa communities, but yes, we've done a fair bit of apartments as well. So no matter however your residential property is, whichever kind, first and foremost is an approval from the developer or the community management, because sometimes developer is someone else, community management is us. Whoever it is, the community management / the developer, you have to get an NOC from them. No objection certificate.
Do you have any cases where you face difficulty from the developer because they would like to kind of maintain a similar style?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go into the brief brigade on this. So let's say I'll take an example which will explain the process in a better way. Let's say we're doing a villa project in Springs or Emirates. Both are MR communities. If Like I said, the artist stays, that everything is decided and good to go. The process is that there's an owner's portal that every owner has with every developer. Through that portal, whatever the terminology be, maybe on that particular portal, home modification, renovation, or whatever, you choose that, you apply for a home modification, NOC from the developer. The owner does that. The contractor can help you with it. Consultants are there to help you with it. That's a very small thing, like who is doing it, but it's done from the owner's portal. And when you apply for the renovation, there are certain requirements from the developer that you have to provide them with. This is again back to my point where I said designers are important, because certain drawings are important. When you're doing layout changes and all, those drawings have to be uploaded on that portal.
And that's specific.
That your designer, yes, and that your designer should be doing. If your designer is not doing that, then maybe you're paying the contractor to do it. But there are certain particular drawings that have to be done in, let's say, the developer's accepted format. And again, if, like I said, if you're boiled down to a contractor or a designer, they can guide you on that process. Everybody who's doing a good job or who's doing a decent job has a know-how on this. So you apply for the NOC through there, and then again, the requirements, drawings should be uploaded. The existing drawings of the as-built villa that again, if you don't have as an owner, you can easily erase them from the developer. You have to upload them as well. It's a funny thing, you're uploading the same drawings to the developer again, although you're arranging them from the developer as well, but it's just the process. You upload those existing drawings, like how your property is in the current state. You upload the proposed drawings, which your designer / contractor have done, or the craftsman has done for you, and you upload certain as-built as current condition photographs of how the house looks like, right?
This, of course, for any customer on your side, you would be able to provide full.
Oh, yeah. 100%. It has to be my responsibility. If any contractor is not taking this responsibility, trust me, he's not your guy.
Okay.
And so it has to be our responsibility, because we do it day in and day out. Right? There's a high chance an owner it's his first project and might miss out on certain things, right? So very important you have your contractors as designer involved in this process, even though you're doing it. It should be their responsibility to guide you through it. And then once it's applied for, you obviously have to attach the trade licenses or whatever other permits. Sometimes it's labor documents or workman's compensation documents, whatever documents required regarding the company or the contractor that you finalized, you arrange it from the contractor and you attach those in the same NOC application. You apply all of that to the developer. Now that we're taking an example of the MR community, Springs or Raven Ranches, in that particular community, MR, applied to MR, couple of business days, MR comes back to you if with any comments that they may have about the layout you're planning or anything, or are you changing, to answer your question, if you're changing the look of the villa from outside, MR won't allow that. They'll let you know about it, that these are the changes you can do. Maybe on the back side of the villa, you want to make the window bigger, MR might allow it, might not allow it. But on the front side, they won't allow. I cannot show it, they won't allow it. Because I had so many issues, clients about to do it, but it's a rule, which I respect. Because it looks nice, right? The communities look nice. They look nice for a reason. You start changing the elevations or the look of the villas, it all goes south, right? So again, after the comments are sorted, whatever doubts MR had are sorted, MR will issue the NOC. NOC will mention the name of the company you've given the project to. So then he's the authorized, that particular company is the authorized company who will be doing a project. Straightforward, simple. Small thing I'd like to add here. Why I say small thing? Because I won't be able to go into the details of it, because it's a bit complicated structure that if I were to explain that, maybe we can do a separate session on that. Is in the case, if you're doing some major layout changes, you might have to get a government authority approval as well. Why I'm saying government authority?
Because government authority?
Exactly. Broadly, there are 3 government authorities which are governing major parts of Dubai. There's DBA, Dubai Development Authority, there's BM, Dubai Municipality, and then there's Takhiz, right? Even I don't understand on what basis the Dubai areas have been divided amongst them, but it's just that it's just so happens like certain communities, we now know that under which authority that they come. It's not a very complicated matter if you don't know the contractor. This task contractor doesn't know, it's okay. Doesn't make him a wrong contractor for you, but he can always ask. You can always ask the developer that which authority we have to go to. But if you're doing a major layout change, the developer in their NOC will mention that we are allowing it, but they'll put an asterisk there and they'll say you have to get a DDA approval
depending on
or a TM approval.
depending on the renovation.
Depending on the layouts that you find. Mostly it's if you're going some kind of major wall breaking or major bathroom moving, kitchen moving from here to there, from a complete different wall to
Is it fair to assume that it's more HSC orientated, health and safety? If there's a change in our main countries,
this authority gets involved because only when if the layouts that you've proposed, the developer is a little skeptical about them causing damage to the structure of the villa, because structure you can't play with. Columns and pillars and beams you can't play with, right? In certain nowadays, in certain villa communities, the bigger villa communities, they are allowing it. But again, there's a lot of other steps that you have to take to achieve breaking a particular column or a beam or something. It's like I said, very complicated. We won't go into the details. It's just the government authority point.
it's a complicated topic, but a very interesting one.
We need to do a different video on it. We should.
A lot of viewers will
We will, standard handovers, handovers. We should do that. But right now, just for the brief of it, whatever authority is governing that particular area, like for example, I give you Arabian Actors, you can either go to DM or DDA also. It's very confusing. Springs, only DA. The MAC is maybe only DA. Any Nakhil property, mostly it is Rakhis. So like I said, even I don't know how they're divided, but one of the three authorities, you have to go to get a separate approval from them. They'll be doing mid-project inspections. That are you following the steps that they've given you in order to achieve that layout?
Just about in that question before we leave this topic. How long is that process on average?
Can't give you a time, big man.
It's like the same estimate
As long as
question as well.
exact, and it depends totally on the layout. Totally depends on DDA. There's certain timeline that the contractor will take to prepare those drawings. Maybe a consultant in his world. So the consultant will have their timeline. After that, the DDA has a timeline. You can push the consultant because that's someone you're paying for the service. But DDA is a government authority. You can't comment on their timelines, right? But MR usually has I would say on an average, a week timeline to come back to you from the initial application. If they have comments, it will extend by a few days. If they don't have comments, within a week, you can get an MRNOs.
So assume that you don't need a government entity approval, and it's only the developer approves. And it's not say
As long as you're not doing some major changes or layout changes. By the way, important point to note, in apartment buildings, it's not allowed. No developer will allow you even going to the lengths of TD or anything. There's nothing. You just go to the developer. Even if you're making a small wall, developer allows, you can do it straight away. They don't allow, they don't allow. You can't negotiate, can't try. Yeah, there's no way around.
yeah.
Apartments work very different.
So let's say assume that no government authority approval is required. The developer has given the go-ahead week or 2 weeks timeline. That provides the full go-ahead for your team to deep dive into the planning with the client and then essentially launch the operations.
It's actually happening parallel. Once the go-ahead is there, we as a contractor already start on the planning. If I'm given the advance amount and then my name is already on the NOC, that means I have a confirmed contract. Yeah, I don't need to waste more time or think about if I'm getting the project on the tenors or whatever. No, you actually start planning from the day the client has given you the nod. Right? Because you also trust your client. If the client is trusting you, you have to trust the client that is giving you a word. You are getting a project. You start accommodating your timelines, start managing it along with your ongoing projects, other projects you may be signing, and then you start planning as to how your labor will be accommodated, what stage or how will be your vendors be planned, or when are you starting to plan the drawings, your joinery vendor, either glass and aluminum vendor, all of those things. The planning starts in parallel, and then obviously you have to be prepared by the time the approval comes to give it a quick start.
Talking about your vendors, how do you select vendors to work?
I get all about myself. There is this 100,000 companies or 10,000 companies. They have their own way of working. Maybe there are certain big companies which have A to Z things in-house, but then the costing is totally different. What we work with is we have the in-house civil team, which takes care of the whole project. The only thing that we rely on vendors for is obviously first for the materials, the end materials like tiles, sanitary ware, appliances and all of that. That again depends on client's budget and brand preferences and all of that. And as far as the joinery work go, the glass and aluminum works go, like joinery covers your woodwork, TV units, wardrobes, kitchens, claddings and whatever woodwork you wear a band. And then glass and aluminum covers your windows, glass doors, glass partitions, glass handrails, pergolas outside. Those are the two kind of categories that we rely on specialist factories or Dubai based. I don't rely on Sharjah, Ajman factories. There are very good factories there as well, and then we might also end up working with them. But then again, majority of them work on a low cost model. Again, I don't want to be very mean against them, but then we have our reasons to work with certain factories. Gain experience of working with certain factories.
Let's have full end-to-end KYC. 100%
And I don't negotiate also. If a client is telling me to work with a certain factory, there's a high chance I might say no. If I don't gel with them, I don't like their way of working. Even if they are very good quality, they have to come within my budget. Because I budgeted at a certain cost and leaving you the cost. So those decisions are under my umbrella. But again, everything is done with client's approval, sampling, everything is sampled on site. And you also visits, factory visits for clients every time at every stage.
You also, at some points, you would have multiple vendors that have approved your KYC, but will indulge in more of a tender from NICE.
Then it is yes, but what happens is usually there's not like 10, 15 kind of thing that I have to manage between them. There's usually my 2-3 go-to factories for joinery, 2-3 go-to suppliers for glass and aluminium. I'm telling you our way of work. Yeah. So what I do is I usually am never in touch with them because of ongoing projects. I know this kind of project is coming. I know which factory to go to. This guy will be able to sort this kind of scope of for really quickly or more efficiently this particular client. This guy doesn't do this particular thing as efficiently, so I'll have to do the other one. So that is, like I said, this comes under my umbrella. So that is for me and my partner to decide, or my team to decide, my site supervisor, my project manager to decide this one, you do with this particular one. If he doesn't have the timeline for it, doesn't have the bandwidth for it, then we choose the alternative option. That's the reason we have a few of them, but not a lot of them. So that you only start.
So if it goes back to what you're saying, I mean, your offering to your customers is not commercially driven. So it's not essentially picking the supplier with the cheapest.
No.
It's more on who can provide it quick, who can provide the best product. The price will then follow after, will follow suit.
See, this goes without saying, and I vouch for majority of the fit-out companies, my competitors, even if they are, we all have certain standards. And clients need to start experience. Unless the client is making the decision of going with the dirt cheap one who seems like it doesn't know what he's voting for, I can't vouch for those kind of companies, but majority of our companies, we all have standards. So if we are giving our commitment, here in a place like Dubai, yeah, you can't get away with anything.
You cannot.
That's true. And like I said, everybody wants small business. This business runs on referrals.
Yes.
How long will I be running marketing ads and marketing campaigns?
It only takes one by client these days.
One mindset,
virality,
and one dot client to give more notices as well.
Very true.
I have a client I'm doing a villa about which we can discuss later. We've actually broken a record in a sub-community in Arabian Ranches. Highest soul villa project done by me. And the guy it was my 8th villa for him in the last 3 years. He's not leaving me, I'm not leaving him. And we fight every 3rd month.
Very nice. Then, coming back to that point, we touched upon a lot about the renovation, a lot about the permits, a lot about the process and the hard work that goes into it. One last topic for today, which a lot of viewers will find very, very important, which is around flipping. A bit about the flipping aspect of your business to the clients, to the investors, and a bit about a rough overview of what kind of ROI people will tend to see with your work. Well, I know that will say per location, but a rough, I'm not going to, let me just,
I'll use a case study just so that people can get a better understanding of it. But before I answer the flipping question, yes, I think we discussed quite a few things, and this whole conversation should give people an idea about renovation in general, specific to Dubai, specific to certain category of renovations, primarily is essential. That's my forte. That's what I'm confident about. Don't count on me for commercial because I've not yet.
You might go message.
We might have offices to better offices. Yeah, so some period I don't know. But about flipping, so in the beginning, I gave you the kind of client that we deal with. I would just want to repeat that just for a better understanding about flipping model as well. So primarily these days, we have 2 kind of clients that we deal with. One is straightforward an end user. Like I said, family is growing, or maybe you want to upgrade your lifestyle for a better living, like you said, modern living or whatever. So you renovate your place, different story. And then you have the flippers, I like to call them, or the investors. This flipping word has been going around because I'm using it 50 times a day. A majority of our incoming clients are doing renovations for flipping, because what has happened, again, post-COVID, with the market being good, prices rising and all of that, is more and more people are coming into the market. That is where the demand for certain family communities like 𝐬𝐸𝐴 ranches, 𝐸𝐸 meadows, where we mostly deal with, is going up. Right? People want to live there because they're beautiful, beautiful family communities. Like I see myself living in those communities once I have a full-fledged family, right? So they're your go-to communities in Dubai. And unfortunately, those communities are now old, but nothing beats their location in the community or facilities and all. That is where we come in. That is where business for me comes in. And that is where the opportunity for flipping investors comes in. Why? A villa is old. You have the money, you have the affordability to pay for it, but you don't have the time to buy it and renovate it yourself, deal with contractors, deal with designers, go through the whole process, 7-month long process, 5-month long process, 3-month long process, if it's a small townhouse. But you don't have the time for it. You don't have the bandwidth to take on that headache. That is where the premium or the add-on price for upgraded villas goes up. Because the market in general is going up. And there's even has the affordability. The people are coming in, they value their time more. Dubai is all about your time, right? Why is Dubai expensive? Because people have the willingness to pay for it because they won't save their time. They understand the fact that time is way, way more valuable than money, right? And that is where the demand for upgraded villas goes up. That is where the opportunity is, where these flipping investors are all coming in. Where my 70% of the projects are all about flipping these days. They're just flipping. Now, you come to me, you say, I want to do flipping, I can give you the whole roadmap, right? So, Arabian ranches, strings, meadows are the communities where this is happening. What happens is, a guy finds a good deal, an investor finds a good deal, he's getting a good price. In today's market, even if it's a market price, it's good deal. In an old villa, which is shabby in an old state, if you're getting a market price also, it's a good deal. Because you can't, there's no such thing. I'm sure hundreds of or thousands of real estate agents will love me for saying it. There's no distressed deal in today's market.
Yeah.
So if you're getting a market price deal, scare, even if you're doing it for flipping. Because everything for flipping, this I tell to my existing clients also, they like, I bought a villa expensive, I'll have to save money on renovation cost. Doesn't work like that. People are out there who are willing to pay you more, but you have to focus on the renovation.
And the quality.
If you're spending $500,000 on renovation, a budget of $500,000, trust me, you're doing an investment, I'm sure you can make that $500,000 as 700,000 dirhams. I know it's almost a 40% increase on your budget, but that if it's giving you a 40% increase in your profits, why not?
To that point,
Why not? But again, just to sum it up, this is the opportunity. This is where investors come into the picture. Because if you're doing a small townhouse project in Springs or Arabian Ranches, a probable timeline on the projects is 4 to 5 months from the day you actually get the handover of the villa until the day probably today's market you will actually sell it. Again, no one can put a guaranteed timeline on selling it, but this is the trend that we are seeing. This is the timeline that my investors are seeing that I'm doing the projects for. And this 4 or 5 months end up giving you a 20 to 30% ROI very easily on your capital.
across all areas.
No,
They're not right.
not is that. Just like rental ROI is not same across all areas, even yes is not. Today you go to some, I will not say a bad community, actually a very good company like Dubai South or the markets, or lagoons that are handy, or Tirala, might not give you a good ROI, might end up, depends. Again, I give a lot of value to the renovation cost. You go to an absolute new community, but you take the risk, you spend extra on renovation, maybe there'll be a buyer out there for it. But the trend generally is that the older communities, like the ones I've named a few times, if you want, I can probably give a list: Springs, Meadows, Arabian Ranches 1, Jumeirah Golf Estates, Jumeirah Park, Lakes, Palm Jumeirah, and then Emirates Hills, obviously, and Dubai Hills. Yes, it's a bit new, but still has a lot of scope because people generally don't like the original layouts and all that. But overall, these communities are your go-to communities of doing flipping business.
Yeah.
People like to believe apartments are also a good choice. Yes, minority cases, but some cases in downtown, the older communities, the prized communities like the residences downtown, or you go to JVR and those Majan and Pahar and those kind of buildings. Yes, you might end up making a certain kind of ROI if you do a flipping project for an apartment, maybe a 10%, 15%. If that solves your expectation, why not do it? But the communities that I listed for you are the ones that are easily giving out 25-30% ROIs. That says we have the model for it. We've worked so much for it. Like I literally have Excels ready.
These are ROIs that you've seen firsthand.
Then 100% there. I literally have Excels ready. I can just give it to you as an investor. You could put in your numbers. If it makes sense for you, you can actually go for it.
Amazing.
Because we our sons are getting into flipping. Like me and my partner are getting into these type of projects. We are doing a project in 𝐸𝐴𝐴 right now for a 3-bed townhouse as a flipping. We have partners in it with our clients, with our existing clients, because we've understood the game of flipping. I'd like to claim that. I don't know. I might end up being wrong, but I like to believe that I understand the flipping. It was worked enough that you think investor.
So you are your own customer, pretty much.
I am.
That's very good. That's very
So I will be a little better than the lose. But yeah, that's the deal. I can end this conversation about flipping and today's conversation by giving you a fair bit of case study on one of my projects. And I'd like to just go through the numbers just so that I don't go wrong. But I can give you the exact numbers as well later on. Maybe you can showcase it to the audience, like the exact ROI. It'll be to the T. But I'm sure your audience will know 𝐸𝐴𝐴 is one. There's a community called 𝐸𝐴𝐴, which is exactly same as space as people would know. There are 3 𝐸𝐴𝐴s. 𝐸𝐴𝐴 1, 𝐸𝐴𝐴 2, 𝐸𝐴𝐴 3, and 𝐸𝐴𝐴 is 1. And just a month and a half back, we handed over a villa, got sold in 5 days. Again, please don't hold me for it. Your villa might take 3 weeks to sell. Don't hold the timelines, but luckily that villa got sold in 3 days, 5 days. And it broke the record in 𝐸𝐴𝐴 community. And it was a 3E type. So we have 5-6 different types of layouts in the communities. It was a 3E type original bit 3-bed. We did some minor extension with all the approvals I talked about. We made it into a 4-bed, added a maid's room with her own bathroom, added a powder room on the ground floor. The 4th bedroom was also on the ground floor. Complete family home, big plot, added a pool, nice landscaping, full modern finishes with we used, as far as material goes, the tiles, Spanish tiles, glass and aluminum, A-grade material, joinery, approved vendors. Our clients were happy with the finishes. Bathroom materials, we use 𝐸𝐴𝐴, which is a well-known brand. I don't need to talk about it. So good quality lights, Schneider switches, all of that up to the mark. Nothing extraordinary where it starts playing with your budget. That is also my recommendation to whoever is planning a flipping project, by the way. You don't need to go overboard also. You don't need to go to the most expensive lens. Like I said, Spanish tiles, you don't need to necessarily have Spanish tiles. If you're finding good quality Chinese, Indian tiles, go for it. If your contractor approves of the tiles, because the tile quality has to be approved by the contractor, not the client. If he's happy installing them, it's okay. Even if it's a Chinese tile or an Indian tile, right? Because it has to solve your purpose, the look has to come out, the quality has to be there. With tiles, the installation price, yeah. So again, that project, the client of mine bought it for 4.25 million on a mortgage. So his cash outflow was even lesser. He would have paid 20% on the down payment, another, I would say 6-7%, let's say the TAD fee, agency fee, another 6% for that, 4 and 2. And then another 1% I usually add for the costing purpose of miscellaneous costs that come during the transfer, the mortgage facilitation and all of that. And then renovation cost. He ended up spending around 850K on that, all inclusive, design, renovation costs, and what else? Materials, everything, contractor cost, everything. Yeah. The project went on to go for around 3 months. At the end of 3 months, we handed it over to him, got listed, 3.5 months, it was sold.
crazy.
Yeah. And after that 850K reno pause, there was another additional 35, if I'm not wrong, I'll give you exact numbers, like I said, was the cost that he had to pay to MR for the extension that he did. So that's another thing. We might have missed out on the approval stage, but today's date, if you're renovating a villa and if you're adding built-up area into the existing built-up area, the developers are buying for it, but now they've started charging for it. It's not a small amount. So you have to see.
How much are we looking at percentage-wise?
I can give you MR cost. 𝐸𝐴𝐴 is way too high. MR cost is around 1,000 dirhams per square feet. So if you're adding 50 square feet,
Very hefty.
it is very hefty. But as long as the numbers make sense to your model, to your projected sales price, you should do it. If by paying another 40,000 dirhams to MR, I'm able to add a bedroom with bathroom in a villa and make it to a 4-bed instead of a 3-bed, 100% I'd go for.
Yep.
Because that 40,000 is going to add maybe
200,000 to a sales price.
Of course.
Right? So it has to make sense. Mostly in my committees, the extensions do make sense. Here's a Sahil Villa, one of my clients is doing for flipping. He's paid around 200,000 dirhams to Imad just for extension. I did charge him for 200,000 for those extension executions.
Yeah.
Doing the work for those extensions was not as expensive as when he paid to Imad. But the eventual cost makes sense.
Agree.
So that again, that all go take a picture. Back to our first point and most important point, have these discussions with your designer and contractors. If they're what I'm talking about, they are like that, they'll give you their experience and everything, and that will help you a lot in taking 99% of the decisions regarding your project, especially for flipping, especially if you're doing investment for investment purpose and won't make hopefully the hits.
That is amazing. We would love those guys and us.
I know we won't end it, but I didn't finish my case study. So this 4.25 million Yella did the thesis by spending 850K on it, inclusive of everything, another 35-40K for MR fee. That was his total cost. Yeah, doing everything. And this villa was sold for 6.7 million. And this 6.7 million till today is the record-breaking price for Al-Reem community in Arabian Access 1. But just yesterday, an agent told me another one is about to sell for 6.75. So we couldn't keep the record for long, but that goes to show how flipping is growing as a brand.
And how fast Dubai is, huh?
How fast Dubai is, how fast the market is of real estate and of renovation and of the splitting business. And now is the time. I can't say for 6 months from now, 1 year from now, but now is the time. If you have cash lying around, now my beloved real estate agents might hate me for saying it. Forget about rental investments. If you have 4 million, 5 million, because that is the bare minimum of entering into these communities for a reno project, including the property and renovations. If you have that much budget, or if you have mortgages, then maybe even 2 million will help you sort the project out of a 5 million villa. Get into flipping, make those 20-30% ROIs within the span of, I said 3 months, right? Take 5 months, take 6 months. Even if it's 6 months, you can probably do 2 such projects in a year. And if you hold the same money around, we're actually making 40%, 50% ROI.
Now, looking at like that crazy story. I'm not gonna, sure.
This is a great case study, by the way. I give you exact numbers.
We would love, that was much a year. We would love the case study numbers to read the show. And I with the viewers. I think we have a few other topics that we dwelled upon today. High level, very important topics that we would love to.
Let's keep on doing it. Let's keep on doing this. Let's do a follow-up sessions, and we'll maybe do a series, or they'll maybe do topic-wise sessions.
So if you want to bring these topics back onto the table for a follow-up session. 𝐬𝐥𝐸𝐿, I wanted to thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
Thank you showing us the world of flipping, showing us what you do and your story as well. I'm sure our viewers would have a lot of questions to ask, and we'll try to get those questions in for the following session.
100%. And obviously, anybody and everybody who's interested in asking more questions, wants to have a sit down with me, just for information's sake, I love talking. We'll have you all right at justice. And my Instagram is there, my WhatsApp will be there. People can bump me a message. And whenever I'm available, I can get back to them. I'm happy to do a sit-down meeting, a coffee meeting. I love to talk about this. I love renovation. I love the business of flipping. Anything and everything you won't know about it. Whatever I know, I'll get back to you on it. If I don't know, I'll thank you for it so that I can get to know about it and I can let you know about it. So it's slowly and steadily, I will not say it is, but it's slowly and steadily becoming my passion. I love this. I'm not a designer. I might become one in the following years, but I love this business. I love making homes for people. I love what comes out after all those fights, arguments of people, and those issues with time not being correct, the light not switching on, the switch not being correct. I love.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Salim, for being here and for doing this conversation, for taking this and helping me, taking this all information out of me, and hopefully it reaches people. Hopefully it helps someone.
And I'm sure it will. I'm sure I will. And then thank you to our viewers as well. We'll be back very soon.
Thank you.
So I wanted to thank you for your time. Gurfrat, I'm sure our viewers will have a lot more questions from what you have discussed today. I know that we dwelled upon some topics in depth, some topics high level. And those high level topics are very important in understanding this industry in depth, understanding of how you want to get into this industry. and I'm sure we will touch upon them in future sessions with our expert here, 𝐸𝐥𝐥, and it will be a wonderful insight session. Thank you very much for watching.